Welcome, dear viewers, to CouchWarrior TV on YouTube. I'm the CouchWarrior, and you are watching a channel update of sorts. Actually, it's a welcome back and good to see you message. I have been gone a long time. I'm sure that's probably the stupidest thing I could have said. It's been pretty obvious from the comments and messages I've gotten that people were wishing I'd come back, wondering what was going on. But I think the most amazing thing was all the expressions of concern I received from people that I don't really even know. It was really amazing and heartwarming, and gives me faith in humanity that people would reach out and contact someone they didn't know out of concern. That's terrific. So, that clues me in as to the caliber of fans that this channel, and in particular Aranis Arcana, have drawn over the 2 years or so that this channel has existed. So that is a testament to how great the fans of CouchWarrior TV are, and I just wanted to give you a heartfelt thank you for that. And then also kind of give you an update and let you know what's been going on with me, what we can look forward to in 2015. Yeah, there are some things that I'm, bummed out about. There are some things that are going to change on this channel that, for me, feel negative. But that is far outweighed by the positive and the excitement I feel about 2015. And the new project that I am embarking on, which has been completely inspired by you, the fans of Aranis Arcana and CouchWarrior TV. So I want to say thank you, and I'm going to share some things with you now. First, what I wanted to do is go over some really kind of interesting and amazing site statistics. First and foremost, if you were to go out and watch any YouTube video by any so-called YouTube pro, I don't know what to call them, YouTube pro, people who make a living on YouTube, they would tell you that everything that I was doing on my channel was counterproductive. So my niche is too narrow, my posts were too infrequent, my videos were too long, you name it. You name it, every single rule out there for supposed success, and I'm doing air quotes here, do it with me please, success, I have broken. Every rule. But I think one of the things that I discovered through this experience has been that, when you put together a group of like-minded people, and in this case, people who are not only just, fans of Skyrim, but fans of role play and have really overactive imaginations like I do, magical things can happen. So since going off the air officially and not posting any videos, my subscriber base has nearly doubled. And at this moment, I am averaging around, 400,000 minutes watched per month. Around 30,000 views per month. To me, that's amazing. That's amazing when you consider that some of my videos are as long as, 2 hours. So that's a testament to you, you, the dear viewer, and your patience with me, but also your craving for good stories. And I'd like to think that over the course of the run of Aranis Arcana, we have put together not only a good story, but a really kind of interesting community built around Skyrim and built around the idea that Skyrim has a lot more to offer than just typical RPG game entertainment. So, congratulations to all of you. I really owe the success of this channel to you and your loyalty and your enthusiasm and your excitement. It's just friggin' incredible, and I'm eternally grateful to all of you. So, what does that mean? Well, what it means in a nutshell, though, is that I have to make some changes. And really, if I'm being honest, I'm just going to, we'll put it all out on the table here, right? I've been gone for about a year. I vanished for about a year. And the reason for that is that I had some health-related concerns. And what it boils down to is that, as a man in my mid-40s with the heart of a 15-year-old, I came to realize quite accidentally that I was suffering from a fairly severe case of ADHD. And while some of you may know what that means, those of you who are, in my tribe where that's concerned may know very well what that means. There are a lot of misconceptions among those people who don't suffer from it about what it really is, and how difficult a diagnosis as an adult can be. So I'm going to cover some things here. I'm going to take 5 minutes. And I'm going to go over what this is, what it means, and the impact it has. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I feel like my viewer base deserves to know this information, because it is, it's private. But I'm sharing it openly because I think, for one, the best way for me to deal with this situation is to put all my cards on the table in all aspects of my life. Personal, business, private stuff. To put this out there because it's one way of dealing with it. The other thing is that if there's anybody else out there who's struggling with this, maybe there's something to be learned from my experience. So with ADHD is a little bit deceiving because the H. The H is, as everybody knows, as most people know, H is for hyperactive. So it's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And unfortunately, what that does is it sort of gives people the mistaken impression that if you're not hyper, you don't have it. There are as many flavors of ADHD as there are people who have it. It's a complex syndrome, and it's physical. Our brains are wired differently. But everybody's ADHD presentation can be very different. So my particular presentation has nothing to do with hyperactivity. So if you were to take ADHD and just try to generally break it into two large groups, there is the hyperactive presentation, and then there's the inattention presentation. My presentation is about inattention. So some of the things that are a factor for me is difficulty getting organized, chronic procrastination. Sometimes I've got, so many projects going simultaneously that I can't do any of them well. I'm frequently on the lookout for stimulation, just feeling like if I don't have some kind of some kind of stimulation, if I don't have my earbuds in, if I'm not, that I can't function. A complete intolerance for boredom. This is something that was an issue for me growing up, way before I even realized that this was a problem. I can be easily distracted, difficulty focusing on things, but for all that's negative about it, there are also some positives. And like any situation in life, if you focus completely on the negative, you could go jump off a bridge. So I tend to try and look at the positive whenever I can. And my particular presentation of ADHD comes along with a extreme capacity for hyperfocus. And that can be, for me, the equivalent of a superpower. However, it's also contingent on whether or not I like what I'm actually doing. So if I find something that's, something I can get excited about, I'm able to hyper focus on whatever that is and accomplish extraordinary volumes of work without a break. Case in point, I've had occasions where I have sat and worked on a project for 16 hours straight without eating, stuff like that. That kind of hyper focus. And I've been very fortunate in my life that my life's path has taken me toward a career choice that meets the criteria for creativity that I require, which has allowed me to spend a lot of those hyper-focused superpowers on the job that keeps me gainfully employed. So that has been fortunate. If I was working a boring job, I'd probably be bouncing from one job to the next, getting fired constantly, that kind of thing. But I've been very fortunate in that way. So for me, the realization that ADHD was a factor for me came when one of my children was diagnosed and they were running down the symptoms, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm all those symptoms and then some. And what I've discovered since then is that I think my particular case seems to be fairly severe. I mean, sometimes it can come with restlessness and mood swings and a tendency toward maybe somewhat addictive behavior when it comes to the things I enjoy. So as you can imagine, that is the hole I kind of fell down with this YouTube channel. It sucked me in completely. I went into hyper-focus mode, and pretty soon I wasn't paying attention to anyone or anything around me. I was just completely immersed in what I was doing. And for me, that's a counterproductive thing, right? So ADHD is treated in a number of different ways, but primarily it's going to be through, some kind of ADHD-related drug, which is typically a stimulant, something like Adderall or Ritalin, and then also through behavior modification. And if you can imagine, behavior modification is an extremely difficult path to embark on when you've spent 40-plus years building bad habits. So, for me, what was required was that I take a really close look at what I was doing, and I set aside some time for myself to regroup, figure out what I needed to do to live my life and to build these creative pursuits back into my way of living that was healthy and productive. And so I've spent the last year doing that. A lot of time has been spent trying to figure out my medication and dial in the dosages and figure out the right things to take. A lot of it has been talking with coaches and so forth and trying to make sure that I was doing everything I could to try to build some better habits and regimens around the way that I operate on a daily basis. And I struggle each and every day. But I will say that, the realization that this was an issue for me, it was like an epiphany, it was like the clouds parting, and suddenly hundreds, if not thousands, of events from my childhood and beyond came into focus and were just suddenly explained, laid out before me and explained in perfect clarity. It was amazing. So, for me, I view this as a good thing. It's an excellent thing. I know, and I can deal with things that I know are there, as opposed to being, in the dark and wondering why things just aren't going well for me. So that is it, folks. I took a year off, figured it out, and now I'm in that process of building my creative pursuits back into my life, but doing it in sort of a regimented, controlled fashion, so that I can kind of box them in a way that fits with, the rest of the responsibilities I have in my life. So if any of you out there are, dealing with this, or based on my description of some of the symptoms, think you might be, man, the best thing that you can do is pursue it. Get it checked out. It's a long, difficult road, just because there's a lot of misunderstanding about the syndrome. Because the medications used to treat it are stimulants, unless you have a really great relationship with your doctor, be prepared to take the time to build one, because they will absolutely look at you like you're a drug addict when you come in and ask for this stuff, or when you ask to be evaluated. So be prepared to suck that up and just understand that, they have people who come and try to scam them for stimulants all the time, those kinds of things, right? You gotta be patient. You gotta stick with it. You can't give up on it. I gave up more than once, had all kinds of friggin' trouble. So, been there, done that. Good luck to you. You can do it, and it's important that you do it. If you want a chance to make it all work. So, that is my little ADHD soapbox. But what does that mean now? Well, I've had some time to take a look at things, and what I realized is I really can't continue on with the channel the way I have been. By the end of Aranus Arcana, by the last episode I produced, I was pouring, literally 20 extra hours of my life into every single episode I produced, of approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's because every time I produced an episode, I had more ideas. I felt more creatively energized. I felt like I had to one-up my last episode, and keep the surprises and the entertainment and the twists and turns coming. And, a person can only sustain that pace for so long before things just start to fall apart. So I know that coming back into this, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I am officially announcing that Aranus Arcana is over as a series. That series is over. However, CouchWarrior TV is not over, and CouchWarrior is not over. I've got some new creative projects going on that I'm going to talk about here shortly, but I wanted to mention just a couple additional things. And one is that I really do believe that storyline, that character of Fleet, was something special, and it has a lot to do with you. And the feedback that I got from you, the viewers, as you watched that story. And what I realized is that Fleet, in many ways, was kind of the fulfillment of what we sort of all wish that Skyrim and games like it were able to do. They can't do it yet, but maybe someday they will. And that was to give voice to your character. Each one of us have played this game multiple times and been heroes in this game multiple times. But, our Dragonborns are all different. My Dragonborn is different than your Dragonborn. One of the things that they all have in common is that they're a silent protagonist. All around us, people are talking, things are happening, but our characters have no voice. And when Fleet came along, when this story started, now suddenly we actually had a protagonist who's able to speak, whether it was, through a journal entry or a letter or direct dialogue with other characters. And even more interesting is we had a whole cast of characters who were in a supporting role, who came with their own subplots and their own personalities. But the thing that they did, I think, for the story that was most important is they allowed us to see Fleet, the protagonist, through someone else's eyes. And I think that is what really makes... I think that's what really reveals the true character of, an individual or an agent in a story. It's what we hear about that character through other individuals who are interacting with them. So whether, it was, Valfar's opinion of the man he was considering serving, or Nefe's questions about herself and her relationship with Fleet, and those kinds of things, or something we saw of Miravel's budding love for him toward the end of the series, right? We got to hear their voices. We got to hear them talk about Fleet, and every time they did that, it revealed something about the Dragonborn in that story that I think a lot of us wish we could experience with our own characters, or we've imagined in our head, and voice was never really given to it. So I think in that way, what we accomplished together was pretty cool. And I say together because I fed off your enthusiasm. I listened to your ideas. You really helped me build that story, and it was pretty friggin' amazing. So thank you all for that. Now, I am ending it here. However, there are some things that I'm going to do. I've got 2 additional episodes, and in fact, it's the first 2 episodes in Act 4. They have been finished and in the can for almost a year, just sitting there waiting to be released. And I'm going to release those. So there'll be 2 more episodes of Aranis Arcana. Those will be coming out. Those are the first 2 episodes that would have constituted the beginning of Act 4 of Fleet's story. And then that's going to be it for Aranis Arcana. One thing that I will be trying to make available is I'm going to see if I can find a way to make available some presets for Fleet for his facial features and so forth. These are presets that you'd actually be able to use in your own game. If you're playing on PC and you're using, you're playing a modded game, it would be possible for you to use those presets to either create a character that looks like Fleet or to create an NPC that looks like him. So if you wanted to bring him into your game and complete his story, you can do that. Maybe you should be the best ones anyway to tell the end of Fleet's story. I don't know. So food for thought. I'm going to be working on that. There's a couple other things I am considering, to kind of continue Fleet's legacy. But I'm not entirely sure they're going to work or that I'm going to be able to get them done. So that one I'm going to stay mum on until I've got a better idea whether or not, any of this stuff's going to work.
I'm right behind you.
So what comes next? Well, what I've done is, in the spirit of, trying to regiment my life a little bit, I took a look at my schedule and said, okay, realistically, how much time can I expect to have in a month to invest in a creative project? And I came up with a number in hours. And I said, okay, what could I do in the time that I have available, in this time box, that I could do really well and would be entertaining and of some benefit to all of my viewers and the little community that we've created through the channel. And I thought long and hard about it, and what I came up with was a podcast. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm actually going to be podcasting. In fact, I've already started. The first 2 episodes are recorded and complete. I will be recording 2 more episodes, and the first 4 will be released out into the wild sometime in May. Now, what's exciting about this is that the subject matter that I'm going to be covering and the way that I'm going to be covering it is inspired by this channel and what's happened here, and by the fans of Aranis Arcana and CouchWarrior TV. I think that all of us share a passion for story and for well-developed characters and for going beyond what the game presents us on the surface and really viewing Skyrim as a truly beautiful and interesting sandbox in which to experiment with story ideas and just to have a friggin' good time, right? So the podcast is going to be focused on Skyrim, but the angle I'm taking here is that we are going to be focusing entirely on ways that you can enhance your Skyrim experience and it's going to be through tools, through mindset, through approach, through mods, whether mods you install or build yourself. We're going to cover all of that stuff. We're going to take mods in a twisted direction that nobody has before. There are many, many mods that I use during my story and that I use in my regular play sessions now that I use in a completely different way than they were intended to be used. And I do it because it allows me to accomplish things with my narrative that I couldn't otherwise. And I am going to share that with you. And I think what's exciting about it is two of my best friends in the world are doing it with me. And we're all sitting in the same room talking. My good friend Joe, he will be participating in this. He's been active in the YouTube channel, in the comments. And then Matt, who you've met in a previous recording, he will also be participating. And Matt is not a Skyrim player. He's new Skyrim player. He's just installing the game today, as a matter of fact. And so we're going to get a great perspective from him as a new player on the vanilla game. And Joe and I will be talking at length about our modded games and our character concepts and ways that we are using the sandbox that is Skyrim to have, really amazing and interesting experiences. Now, the other thing that we want to do with this is bring you, the listener, in. So we've established a website, and this podcast is called Character Crusade. Right now, it's focused on Skyrim, but when the new version of the Elder Scrolls game comes out, it will be focused on that, and we will continue to march, my friends. So if you go to charactercrusade.com, on that website, every single page, you're going to find a submission form on the bottom. If you have role-playing quandaries you want to submit to us, like how do I weave a couple storylines together, or I want to create a character of this type, but it doesn't seem like the game has a mechanism to allow me to do it, you send us any question like that, and we will go through them all. We will address some of them on the air. We'll talk through your quandaries. We'll tell you of our experiences, and we're going to try to cover a different topic in every episode. Now, right now, our plan is to make it a bi-weekly show, so every other week we'll be posting an episode of the show. However, if we get enough listener comments and we can make the production efficient enough, we may go to weekly. All right? So that is the plan. Now, if you go out to the website, again, that's charactercrusade.com, the other treat there is I've tried to put together the best responsive web experience I possibly can. It's going to work great on your phone. It's going to work great on your iPad, on your laptop, and it is filled with big brassy images captured from my gaming PC of all the characters that you're familiar with from the story. It's also got some images of characters there who I've played in other sessions. So I would encourage you to go and check it out. We're going to be releasing the podcast on YouTube, so you'll be able to get it here, as always. But we're also going to be releasing it on iTunes, and I'll be, letting everybody know when that's available. But what I wanted to make sure is that we can have this conversation whenever you're able to have it. So if listening to Character Crusade is something that you can do through YouTube from your computer, and that's convenient, awesome. But if you want to listen to it while you're at the gym or out running or driving your car, you can listen to it that way too through iTunes, and it'll always be available to you. So what we're looking for here is some audience participation. Now, again, I'm going to be, I have to be very aware of the fact that I have a time box that this needs to fit into. So I will not be commenting, at least not very often, on any of the things that we post on YouTube. I will not be doing that. In fact, either Matt or Joe will be taking over posting of those items. I will, however, interact with the audience, through the podcast itself. So if you want to give us some feedback, or you want to pose a quandary, or ask a question, go to the website and use the form. Now, one other announcement I wanted to make is that I will be dedicating at least a couple of Q&A episodes of the podcast to the Aranis Arcana story. And so for those of you who have been fans of the story and have burning questions about things, or are wondering the direction I was planning to take the story, or wondering about Fleet as a character and the way he was constructed, or why I made the choices I did, or anything like that, you can go to the website and submit an Aranis Arcana question, and we are going to review those and answer as many of them as we possibly can, and there will be an episode or two dedicated to that, and we'll be making announcements going forward about when those episodes will be. But I want to give you ample opportunity to queue up some questions before we pull the trigger on that, because judging by the comments on the channel, there are a lot of questions about where the story was going and what the plans were, and about Fleet, and about some of the other characters, things like that. And so I will say at this point, there are no questions that are off limits, but if I get a lot of questions that are similar, I'll probably just group them together and try to answer them in a bunch. Well, that about draws it to a conclusion, folks. This new podcast is really all about you. It's about me. It's about role-playing enthusiasts, people who care about characters and stories rather than badges and objectives. If you're like-minded, I hope you'll tune in, and I hope you'll participate. Send us a message, send us a quandary, give us some feedback, find a way to participate. We're going to be talking about, anything and everything having to do with this genre. We've even discussed interviewing some modders and other Let's Players who are also like-minded. So food for thought, something to think about. This is just my way of not only continuing to do what I love so much, but it's a way that I can take what I've learned in creating this channel and this story and give back to this community, and really try to, help make people's games better, help make immersion better, help make the Skyrim roleplay experience better. So, with that, I think it's time for me to sign off. Well, dear viewers, we've reached the end of another episode. I want to thank you for taking the journey with me, and until next time, may all that you do be swift, quiet, and deadly. And to all Skyrim assassins, I salute you. Silence is our battle cry.